welcome everyone to this virtual Portland Duck Lunch and Learn with alumnus Austin DeKoning. My name is Megan McKinney. I'm the Associate Director of the Duck Career Network in the UO Alumni Association. The Portland Duck Lunch has traditionally been held biannually in Portland and has served as an opportunity for Portland area ducks to gather together over a meal, engage in career networking, and make new professional contacts. It's also become an event for ducks to learn from local spotlighted alumni speakers who share stories about their career path as well as business advice. We are now shifting this signature event into the fully digital space, and we look forward to rolling out a new series of virtual Portland Duck Lunch and Learns that alumni around the country can take advantage of joining from the comfort of their own home. And now I'd like to introduce to you today's alumni speaker, Austin DeKoning. Austin is a proud graduate of the Lundquist College of Business. As an undergrad, he was an active member of the UO Sports Business Program, where he ran the Oregon Club snowboarding team and represented the university as an intern in Beijing, China during the 2008 Summer Olympics. Today, he's keeping his outdoor spirit alive as an entrepreneur and a wilderness guide through his company Spearhead Adventure Research, an endeavor whose navigation of technological and digital marketing landscapes has been every bit as important as the far out adventures themselves. Like many entrepreneurs, this year's COVID pandemic has led him to reimagine his brand, which was originally an events company, to meet the new parameters of our digital world. During this webinar, Austin will be discussing a variety of themes that have played a crucial role in his personal and professional life, including what he calls the snowball effect, the importance of connection and the outdoors, and digital marketing and web development. At the end of the webinar, he'll be responding to questions from the audience, so please enter your questions into the Q&A box inside your Zoom window. I'm now going to hand it over to Austin to share a little bit more about who this webinar is for and why this talk is a bit different than our traditional Portland Duck Lunches. Hey, Austin.
Hi, Megan. That was, wow, that was quite the intro. Thank you very much. It looks
like you're joining us from the side of a mountain. Where are you exactly, and how are you?
Yeah, I'm right here in Zion National Park. Can you tell I'm at the top of a canyon? No, this is just my little background here. But gosh, I hope I could sell you on that. The Wi-Fi isn't very good out there, I think. Thank you very much for that intro. I'm very, very honored to be here. Even right now, seeing some of the comments coming in from people that I've known over the years is very flattering, and it just makes me that much more excited. I love the University of Oregon. This school has done great things for me and many others. So the chance to even give back is a really big deal for me. Like Megan mentioned, I want to do something a little bit different on this chat. Right now is a strange time, and this talk is geared toward the time that we're in right now. I'm trying to grow a small business, and I'm still smack in the middle of my journey, but I have some lightning in a bottle that I think that I can share with all of you, regardless of what stage of life or your career that you're in. Instead of just spitting a bunch of advice at you that you're probably going to forget in an hour, I'd like to briefly just start by telling you a story of a time in my life that I think revealed somewhat of a blueprint for building a chain reaction of successful events in my career, starting from square zero, that being the biggest point. I'll break down that formula. It's only 3 steps. It's very simple. And then I'm going to fast forward to today and compare that same blueprint to what I'm trying to do now with Spearhead Adventure. And then finally, I'm going to start a community right here in this meeting with the people from this group. Any of you can join, so that anyone who's listening, that you can find some new paths to success potentially in your own lives and your own career during an isolated time. So I really want to make sure that I can, even though we're kind of stuck behind a computer, to still try to get that engagement, which is what we all love about these University of Oregon networking events. So one major goal of mine, of course, is to connect with the people who are here who share a similar vision. and to create relationships that will last much longer than just this lunch break. Some of you, who knows, I might even end up working with sometime in the future. I would love that. So just a couple notes about who this talk specifically is meant for: people who obviously are passionate about the outdoors, but also just simply people who are who have a profession where they're just building something, some kind of digital asset, maybe a website, social media content, a product or a brand, regardless of the industry. And of course, especially it's meant for people who are who just feel like they're isolated right now, stuck in a rut during the pandemic, either personally or professionally, and want ideas on how to maybe light a fire in their careers or their personal lives.
Great. Let's dive right in. So, Austin, you have a career that spanned over several different industries, but you eventually found your calling due in large part to what you consider the snowball effect. So can you help define this concept a little bit and tell us how it's played a role in your life?
Yeah, I know I'm kind of bringing, actually, Julie, maybe before you pull up the slides real quick, I might have you pull it back down one quick second. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. The snowball effect, I know I'm kind of bringing new terms to the seminar here, but I'll help define it here. It is just simply the idea that big things happen in succession. This phenomenon that I'm defining has many different names that you could call it, but I like the image of a snowball because it just simply gathers more snow and more momentum as it rolls. So imagine you're like at the top of a hill or a steep slope, and your goal is to get your snowball down the hill. And I guess in this case, obviously progressing further in your lives, your career, accomplishing a goal. In the beginning, you're going to be doing 100% of the work yourself. But once that snowball turns into a large boulder, it's going to pick up some size and speed. Of course, I'm sure you're with me. The momentum of that thing will start to carry itself and even eventually do the work for you. With enough momentum, this snowball potentially turns into an avalanche. And in this example, it's a good avalanche. Anyway, so that example relates to the laws of physics maybe, but I've noticed in my experience that, of course, it relates very closely to careers and opportunity. Just like the concept of inertia, the hardest part is in the beginning, but get that thing going and an object in motion will stay in motion and eventually carry you along with it. I'll give you a quick example first, just from a time in my own life. And coincidentally, let's rewind back to when I was even a student at the University of Oregon. From my very first day that I stepped onto campus to the time I got my first job, I think is the time period that we're looking in here specifically for this example. I started with zero experience. I got a little bit of momentum from the experience that I had on campus. And then once I got into my stride, it was like boom, boom, boom. One good thing led to another until I got my dream job coming out of college, working down in LA for one of the biggest sports agencies in the world at that point. My story went like this. When I first got, and I'll keep this brief, I want to kind of move through this so I can get into the example in the slide itself. But just for context, I started at the University of Oregon. The snowboarding club was about to go under and they needed a coordinator, and it kind of just fell into my lap. And I took it over, and some good things happened. We built the team up. We got to know through competitions, through club snowboarding, we got to know the people over at Red Bull. And we put our heads together with them, and we came up with a concept to actually hold a snowboarding rail jam competition on the University of Oregon campus. From there, and that event, it was a big one. It was a great experience. I met the sports business program staff, like the faculty and the people in the career center. And they do an annual MBA trip to China every year. So I went ahead and went into the head of the MBA program's office. I pitched him on being able to help. I was a Chinese language minor at the time, and wanted to be able to help them kind of as a student intern on their program they did. And he said, you know what, I have an even better idea for you. I'm going to reach out to some people that we know that are working at the Beijing Olympics coming up here. That was Johnson & Johnson. And I was able to, with their help, get an internship and get some contacts over in Beijing, and actually did an internship over in China for almost a year, which eventually led to my job down in Los Angeles. So that was like, from beginning to end, that was like my snowball effect in this story. Julie, maybe I might have you go ahead and pull the slides up. And this is my blueprint, my little formula for, I think, what happened in that story and what the key pieces were that allowed me to kind of gain momentum. And then again, later on, I'll bring this forward to today and how it applies to everything that we're going through now. But first, the step one of this is just simply, actually, before I go into this slide, obviously very simple and very intuitive. There's nothing new in this slide that anyone here hasn't heard before. And obviously, before you click away and go back to your lunch, that's exactly the point. Sometimes we take little simple bits of wisdom for granted. We're assuming we're doing it correctly until we really look at it underneath a microscope. And even in this process, I've come up with things that I know that I've been able to certainly improve upon as well. There's a great quote from Bruce Lee that I love. Rest in peace. He says, I don't fear the guy who has practiced 1,000 different kicks. I fear the guy who has practiced the same kick 1,000 times. And what I'm going to try to do with this slide is just simply break down and perfect a really simple formula. So first one involves just the snowball phase. When this thing is a snowball in your hand, this step just involves being really in tune with what your purpose was. At the University of Oregon, most students in the sports business program like the big four sports, baseball, basketball, football, soccer or hockey, whichever one you'd want to put in there. I was the black sheep. I had a crazy passion for snowboarding and outdoor adventure, which was really fringe at the time, at least in the business world. Step two is simply building your snow boulder. That was the skills and experience that I got from the University of Oregon snowboarding team and the rail jam that followed. And I think the key in that phase is that I simply just had to put in the work first and build a skill set that was both unique and valuable on my own, kind of just carrying my own flag first before anything happened. And I think without that background, well-connected people eventually that I'd meet up with later would never have probably trusted me enough to help me, or even, necessarily give me the time of day as you wouldn't, if you don't know somebody, then that's not intuitive to do that, to go out of your way always. So I think carrying my own flag was a big step for that. And step three was the avalanche effect. And the key to this step is simply your network. You've already proven who you are. Now you can leverage that to team up with who you know, or who you introduce yourself to. I think what triggered my avalanche was certainly going into the dean of the sports business program's office and offering to help them on their trip. But the momentum from that kept itself going due to the opportunities and networking that lined up as a result afterwards. Exposure led to more opportunity, which led to networking, which led to more exposure, etc. That dream job that I scored after I graduated, they actually called me and asked me to be able to interview for that. I didn't have to go seek that out. And that's how you know that you are riding your avalanche right there. And frankly, that's the kind of good fortune that I wish for every single person that's here on this luncheon in this meeting. That's why I'm doing this talk. There's a great TED Talk by Barbara Sher called "Isolation is the Dream Killer, Not Your Attitude." And Julie, if you wouldn't mind, if you could, wonderful. She's posting it in the comments section right now. She's on top of it. I know TED Talks can be cliche, but the good ones are timeless. I saw this video years ago. It still stands out with me. The point is that nothing happens in isolation. I did not will myself over to Beijing or down to LA. I had something unique that I could offer people in my network first. And then I had a lot of help from people who wanted to join forces with me. A lot of it was very mutually beneficial for them as well as a result. For the University of Oregon Business School, that was, my value offer was a combination of good internship experience and a Chinese language minor. For Red Bull, it was an entire campus full of students to be able to market to. This third point, using your network to be able to create an avalanche, is huge. It is what my entire talk is all about. It is especially relevant now because many of us have lost our ability to expand our networks during COVID. We need it more than ever, and simultaneously we are also deprived of it more than ever. So there's certainly a need that needs to be filled. So put a bookmark on that. I'm going to dive deeper into this topic in a minute after I kind of fast forward to today.
Wow, thank you for walking us through the snowball effect. I agree that's so relevant today, especially, pointing out how one thing leads to another. When one door closes, another opens. And that's
Absolutely.
just such a message to share with the audience today when we're all feeling like we're struggling a little bit and don't know where the future is headed. I think now I'd love to zoom forward to today, and let's dive into Spearhead Adventure Research and how you've been applying that snowball effect to your company today.
Sounds good. Well, that story was, thank you, Megan. That story was simply to help everyone just kind of picture the snowball analogy, and then also to kind of conceptualize those 3 steps that I mapped out that I can definitely tell were absolutely mandatory as kind of a blueprint for triggering, that metaphorical avalanche, the sweet spot that you want to try to get into. Fast forward to current day. And, through this company, I accidentally kind of found myself replicating the same formula all over again. So I'll quickly run you through the first 2 steps so I can focus on the third here. Again, step 1, the snowball. What is my purpose? My purpose right now is to get that feeling that I get when I'm out there and share it with other people, either directly if I'm with them on a trip or indirectly just through simply telling stories. It's that feeling of freedom, that awe of natural beauty itself, that feeling of self-sufficiency when you learn a new skill, and the pride that you get when you teach it to other people that you're with. It's the excitement of taking on some kind of an epic journey with your friends, kind of like the heroes and the legends that you see in movies and comic books and everything when you're growing up. And it's the fact that you can use this mind that you've been given to conquer something as vast and powerful as Mother Nature, and to be able to do that with the people that you care deeply about. What a great way to feel alive. And for me, that's kind of captured in, have you ever seen the movie Into the Wild? Love that movie. I'm so glad that you've seen it. The climactic, it's a good one, right? The climactic moment of that movie, that main character realizes and writes down in his journal, happiness is only real when shared. And that goes back to, that really hits home with me as well. So step 2, so that was my snowball, my snow boulder. Love that comment. One of my favorite films too. Step 2, the snow boulder. For anyone that hasn't seen it, Spearhead Adventure is a content-based website. I'm actually happy to, feel free to check it out, spearheadadventure.com. I'll see if I can post it here in the comment section. Let me see. Is this for all panelists? Should it be all panelists and attendees? Here we go. I got you. I'll just type it. You guys can check it out if you want to now, later, whenever.
Thanks for putting that in. That's great.
Yeah, I should have put that in before. Sorry about that. But the primary goal of that site is just simply to give trip leaders or anyone who would aspire to be one the plan, like a plan to be able to seek out everything that I mentioned just now in my purpose. those elevated life experiences. Even the title Spearhead really has mostly to do with like someone who wants to like spearhead some kind of an initiative. It's like a planning and organizing kind of theme. The other half of the business besides the content website is simply a guide service, actually leading friends and clients on custom trips planned in the Southwest. So just to give you guys a little bit of background about what the site is and everything like that as you're checking it out. Let me see. This year with COVID has, just like for many of you, has been brutal. But one thing it forced me to do was to literally get my head out of the clouds, because it forced me indoors. This year, I really had to change things. But also, that change has forced me to grow my snowball into the boulder in this analogy. In this case, per the slide, it's forced me to build a better technical skill set of digital marketing skills, something that I wasn't focused on as much before this. Think like web design, new kinds of digital marketing to get the word out that I hadn't tapped into yet. Data analytics, I became a huge data nerd this year. Building a brand, those kind of things that are really important that sit in the background for anyone who's trying to build like especially like a content-based site where you're just writing all the time. And it forced me to get creative in new ways so I could provide value to other people that are using my site. Typically my content was about the latest adventure I was on, but I got a little bit creative and I had to, when I wasn't going on adventures due to these restrictions, I kind of dug deep and provided new tools. One of those tools was this wilderness permit deadline calendar that I have. And I won't go into the details. I'll let you guys check it out, but it's something that was brand new and is now my most popular page on the site. So I guess simply just trying to provide value to people that were using my site meant that I would have more to offer, especially in this next phase, my step 3 phase of the avalanche, when I'm trying to team up with other people to trigger that next phase, providing more value that I can bring to them the same way that I did, like marching into Paul Swangard's office when I was trying to get that internship in China. So I guess step 3 now, moving forward, is the avalanche. And this part, I would say, is just network like hell. It's the most important element of this model. And you know what? We're all alumni. Many of us here have already been rolling out our snowballs and our snow boulders and grown them. We have our purpose. We have a skill set. It's how do we reach that point of critical mass where gravity takes over, where the ball starts rolling on its own and opportunities even start coming to us. Imagine that, instead of vice versa. My answer to that is to just simply keep finding new and creative ways to build our networks in spite of COVID. And I'll get into that in a second, but first I'd recommend starting with an inventory check. What do you have to offer? In this case, the 3 most important assets that I've even seen lead to new opportunities are, like, number 1, a unique skill set. In this case, like the ability to speak Chinese was pretty unique, but that's just an example. The second one is access to a specific group of people. For example, the University of Oregon student body, or 3, leveraging like a current or a previous win to be able to set up your next one. And in this case, 2 grad students that I met during their MBA Beijing trip in Oregon ended up leading to to introducing me into my first job and my first career opportunity. So those are the 3 things there. So if you're looking, so that being said, if you're looking for a place to start, I would say, how about the University of Oregon alumni group and the Portland Ducks right here? The University of Oregon helped establish me in my career. The network that I had and everything through the Career Center, the resources there were just as valuable as even the education itself. I know it's a bold statement. The education was amazing, but also the additional resources and the network was massive. And no, you don't have to surround yourself exclusively with people who are just simply super influential. In fact, a variety of career levels, people who are beginning all the way up to experts, I found has been most ideal. Watch that TED Talk video and you'll get an idea of how the power of networking can really help people. Another great place to start is simply to just, and this is my favorite, build a network yourself. And we have new tech resources in 2020 that promote connection in really clever ways. Zoom is a great, obviously, look, this is what we're doing now, but also Facebook groups. And we're already seeing creative things happen there. Just a quick example, I learned about this recently in Facebook groups. There's one called Buy Nothing, where you're in a community that's local to where you are, where you don't have, where people just kind of trade things with each other. Imagine that novel idea, right? You can basically get anything you want with no money owed to the other person. So people are doing some clever things with Facebook groups. So that said, in the spirit of that, and to be able to move this along, I want to establish and have established a new outdoor business networking group. I'm calling it the Oregon Outdoor Entrepreneurs. I launched the Facebook group yesterday. It's not affiliated with the University of Oregon directly. It's anyone is allowed to join. It's just people who love the outdoors and have a business in Oregon or are just interested in that and want to grow their networks. I'll have Julie put the link in the comments, or I'm happy to do it as well at the end or whenever. I want to start it small with a core group of people and grow it from there so that people's voices and needs can actually be heard and we can respond to each other and get to know each other and grow this thing. My original goal when I first moved up to Portland was to create some kind of an adventure race up in the Oregon area. Think of like a hood to coast style relay for the outdoor crowd, something that was unique and iconic, to Oregon, and was already even kind of reaching out and getting potential stakeholders and partners, finding interest there, trying to pool interest and resources. And that was right when COVID hit. And that was actually even why I was at the last duck lunch, where I met a lot of, Megan and other people here. My long-term goal was to make the state of Oregon a beacon of outdoor sports, the same way that the University of Oregon is a beacon for collegiate sports. And who knows, maybe once the smoke from COVID clears, that might even be possible given the help of people that are, here in this group and on this call. If you're not in the outdoor sector, I would challenge you to get creative. If you're feeling like you're stuck in a COVID rut or anything similar like that, start or join your own network, whether it's personal, professional, or whatever. I know not everybody likes networking. I totally get it. It can be a lot of work and stress to get out and meet new people, and it can be kind of a grind, especially at first. But unfortunately, your own group of friends, unfortunately, it doesn't count. The idea is the less you know the people that you're networking with initially, the better the results you'll have. And the key is to be able to have people speak their needs and to allow the group to be able to come up with solutions for them. People are problem-solving animals. You'd be shocked at how easily random people can help you. I promise that.
Thank you, Austin. It sounds like you've got some really exciting endeavors that you're taking on. I'm especially excited about the Facebook group that you started. I checked that out this morning. Looks awesome, and I hope everyone on this call will go to that page and join and get involved. So exciting. Going back to your website for your company, it's a fantastic website. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, thank you.
It really is. And as I was perusing through your website, it's a hub for all things outdoor adventure. But as we know, there are definitely some unique challenges that you've had to face in building that digital brand. You have some tips that you'd like to share with us. Can you talk to us about web development and how you can get a business off the ground in this digital space?
Yeah, sure. So I know that everything up until this point has been about the snowball effect and one big homage to networking. So for the people who are building, a website or some kind of a digital asset themselves, or even just a social media account, whatever, I figured I would include a couple of details on, some things that have been really key for me. And some of this is advice to myself. Thank you, Julie, for loading that up there. This entire slide is really just to help you conquer the mental game, and should really just say, planning, grit, and persistence. From a planning standpoint, some of these are areas where I've screwed up and learned the hard way. From a persistent standpoint, I can't tell you how many times I've reached a major obstacle, thought I was finished. I gave up for a while, only to eventually find a solution a little bit later that allowed me to clear the hurdle and keep going. And I wish that I just would have just kept with it and not stopped. So luckily, all these things on here, if you screw up, you can always fix it. The one thing that you can't easily fix is this point number one, and that is start with the end in mind. It's a really key and crucial point. I'm actually borrowing this directly from Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It just goes to the fact that if you build it, they will come model from the field of dreams doesn't work anymore unless you have a completely novel and new idea. So what I recommend is to really get your planning down, know exactly what the unique value is that you bring with whatever it is that you're building, and know exactly how you're going to monetize it in the beginning when you kick off. That's a big one. The second one, find a mentor. This one's huge. The University of Oregon Alumni Association is amazing at this. That is their bread and butter with, what you guys are doing here with the Career Center, and then also the, resources for any students out there directly in the school. I've seen it firsthand. It's worked great for me, and I know it worked great for others. I have kind of a mountain climber analogy with this one, and that is that you don't want to get halfway up whatever mountain you're climbing and realize that you took the wrong route and that there was an easier one. And I think that's really where a good mentor can really help point the way and simplify your route to keep you from getting frustrated and from taking wrong turns. That would be devastating. I'm still, by the way, looking for mentors, and I'm looking to mentor others. I love this process. So that one's big for me. 3 is an old lesson. It's very, very simple. A lot of people know it already. The more niche, the better. But I also wanted to add to that and say that the content in your website or the value of your business not only has to be unique to you and different to you, but also especially to your audience. When I first launched Spearhead Adventure, this was probably my biggest mistake. I viewed it as unique, and the hardest part was to get that same message across to my audience, who really only just views your website or your social media account for just a split second. Number 4, trying to get wins early and often, even if they're small. And this one goes back to the snowball effect, and it's purely to try to just get that thing rolling and building early on, some momentum. And it's really just a psychological strategy to avoid you from, getting fatigue or discouragement and giving up along the way. It doesn't really matter how many mistakes you make. The biggest thing is just simply that you just keep going. And this one is really big, just getting wins early and often, starting small and growing them. That way you have something in your pocket to go with. Be like a venture capitalist of your own business. Demand a return quickly. There you go. That's just one way of looking at it. Number 5, don't stop producing. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but it's definitely worth repeating. Overcoming the mental game of this is the biggest part. Just keep going with it. And then, of course, finally, 6, video is king. YouTube is a great resource. People's attention spans, of course, are shorter than ever. They don't always want to read a long page of text. And also they want to look for a human connection. They want to be able to bond with the people that they're following. It's just that much more powerful. On top of that, YouTube is the most efficient bang for your buck in terms of the form of media and marketing that I have found out there. Not only can you drive traffic to a website that you're building, but also simultaneously you can make ad revenue from that traffic driver. So you get a 2-for-1 effect. And it's also a great place, a great medium for, small unknown videos to be able to blow up and go viral. So anything with a video medium, YouTube, I hate to say it, but TikTok is becoming big these days and is actually surprisingly effective. If you know someone who is a videographer or an aspiring videographer, make friends with that person. In fact, if there's anyone else out there that is an aspiring videographer, please reach out to me. I'll team up with you. Anyway, so those are my 6 pointers there. I'll move into this in summary, just to kind of retrace everything here. My formula: know your purpose, build a skill set that's unique, that you can use to benefit others, and then network like hell, but come from a place of giving first. See if you can give the person that you're looking to connect with an offer that they can't refuse. And then it will always come back around and benefit you. Finally, if this message just resonated with you today, feel free to join my group if you're into the outdoors. If you're not, that's okay too. Reach out to me personally. In fact, I love networking from this kind of stuff. Hopefully that came through with the message. I would encourage any and everyone to, reach out to me, make a connection. Let's see if we can try to beat this COVID thing, given the resources that we have. We'll discover new benefits of this that we never even had prior to 2020. I know that for sure. And of course, most importantly, connect with the Portland Duck Alumni Group and the University of Oregon Alumni Group. They've done great things for me. I can't thank them enough. Megan and Julie, you've been amazing through this process. I want to thank you very much for setting all this up.
Thank you so much, Austin. And thank you for breaking down those tips for us in a very, very convenient way to understand where you're coming from.
Hopefully it was convenient.
I think that's super helpful. And I especially like the point that you made about networking being, it's more about relationship building. It's not about, what can you give me? It's also about giving back. It's a two-way street. So thank you for reminding us about that. Do you want to take some questions from the audience?
I would love to.
Great. Okay, so here's a great one from Jennifer. She says, "Great talk.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I love how you've been able to blend your passion and your business. Can you share how you've remained motivated this year while facing the challenges that have come with COVID?" That's something I think we all struggle with. And also, what's been your greatest outdoor adventure during COVID?
Oh man, I'll start with that one because I can't help myself. I did a trip to Zion earlier this year with, it was right after it opened up, after it had closed down. And that one was definitely the best. I had a chance to do some canyoneering around that area. I love just being able to teach friends something that I know, like a skill or something that I have, to be able to go out and, like, in a nerdy way, like, go conquer the wilderness. And so canyoneering is an amazing sport. A lot of people, it's very much on the rise. A lot of people still don't know what it is. and it's simply navigating a canyon, a technical canyon from top to bottom using rappelling. So it's almost kind of like reverse rock climbing, and it's beautiful. You go on this huge adventure, and I was able to teach a small group of friends how to do that this year, and that was honestly one of the most fulfilling moments, not of just of this year with COVID, but of my entire outdoor experience. That was the art of being able to teach someone something, and then you get to see them benefit from that, and then you get to win as a team together over the course of a day, and then also you get to see the passion that you have and the enthusiasm light up in their eyes, like, oh, they get it now. That one was really big. So that was the second part of that question. Let's go back to the first here. How I've remained motivated this year. That's it. That's the reason. It is knowing that you have something special that's unique, and continually trying to find the challenge of, or like perfect the art of communicating that with other people. And no one's perfect at anything, and just like chipping away at that skill of just trying to get better, like maybe a better storyteller, better at getting the message out. But the art of just simply sharing what you love with other people, I think right there has been what has kept me going. Cause yeah, it's been brutal. Like there were times where I, was frustrated, wasn't driving enough traffic. There was a certain thing that I worked really hard on that, that wasn't getting the attention that I wanted yet. And you kind of just have to tell your own mind to shut up sometimes, and to kind of just keep going in spite of it. I think that's probably been the best thing. But having passions in the background that fueled me to begin with was absolutely the biggest thing that helped.
What's been your proudest Spearhead moment to date? When you think back on all of your adventures that you've gone on and all the work that you've done, did you ever have any like big like aha moment, like, wow, like this is amazing, this is what I should be doing, like I've made it?
Nah.
Did you have a moment like that?
You know what? Maybe this sounds corny, but I feel like I have that kind of feeling on every single trip that I go on, that I organize. The most with the ones that were the most challenging for me, that I knew that I would have to push myself to a new level, learn something new, or really just be on my game to conquer smoothly, whether that was because I was going for myself, or especially when I'm leading a group of other people, and I want to make sure that they're safe. So I think all the proudest moments that I've had have been actually outdoing the thing that I love. But I was very proud when I recently relaunched the website, when I was able to kind of bring everything together. I put a new message in there, a new mission page, a new homepage design, and the accumulation of that was absolutely a proud moment for me. And just kind of like seeing your traffic numbers go up, it kind of like, I hate to say that it's about that, but it's helpful when, you see that people, it's actually the work that you're putting in is actually creating a positive effect.
There's a question here, which I think you might have touched upon, but let's see if you had anything else to add. Tyler says, Austin, thanks for speaking with us today. Loved your energy and insight. You mentioned becoming a data analytics nerd this year. I'm curious, how have you leveraged it to drive Spearhead?
Oh, man. No, that's a really good question. And I'm trying to think of what I want to, how I want to tackle this one. I think okay, so this is good. When I really dove into the analytics, I found that certain pages were performing much better than others. And sometimes they were very strange pages, like kind of just extra features that I put in there. I hadn't even put in a whole lot of effort in those pages compared to the ones that I like put a ton of effort on. So I'm thinking like, why is Sedona, Arizona cliff jumping getting so much traffic right now? And when I dove into the analytics, I learned that it was because for whatever reason, the Google search engine liked the content on that page. And eventually I later found that it was because it was unique and there wasn't a lot of other people that were creating content about cliff jumping in Sedona, Arizona, go figure. So being able to dive into the analytics showed me that some things I was doing were not, like the things that some things I was putting a lot of effort in weren't getting any views. And then other things that I was putting less effort in and was not a focus of my website was getting a ton. So what I did was I was able to direct more energy and attention to the things that were getting more attention. And then to be able to put certain boxes in web elements to drive people back to my homepage or back to other parts of the website that I thought were done really, really well and spectacular. And then that actually even allowed me to kind of redo certain parts of the homepage to feature I realized that the pieces that I wrote that I put a lot of effort in weren't being featured enough. So I was able to feature them more prominently through the web page and drive traffic similarly to it. So I hope that answers your question there. Data was everything.
Great. Let me see here. We've got a few more questions that I think we can still fit in. We've got about 10 minutes left. So here's a great one. Finding a path that is fulfilling is important. Where do you see your path and future for yourself and your business going? That might be kind of a big question for you.
Yeah, no, that's a deep one. My original passion was events. Like I wanted to make, one reason I moved up to Oregon was because I wanted to make Oregon a beacon of outdoor sports. And I kind of see an opportunity here, or I definitely do. We have so many product manufacturers of outdoor gear up here and just other things like Metolius, a climbing company, Columbia Sportswear. You can name off a million companies that are all based up in the Pacific Northwest. And at the same time, the industry is really fragmented in terms of the way that people in the outdoors are consuming the sports that they love. A lot of people go out in small groups. It's very much a small friends thing. And I think that is one way that it's done, kind of best, like experiencing the outdoors and consuming the outdoor sports that you love in a small group is a great way to bond with other people. But also, if you're talking from a business standpoint, the companies that are up here want to be able to reach people when they do these outdoor sports, the things that they love. So I think that there's a major opportunity to have events, whether, bringing people in big groups or in their small groups or as individuals, where marketers can reach people in their niche doing what they love, and people get a chance to have more exposure for sports that they love, to be able to have chances to be introduced as beginners, and to see the professionals that they love, to be able to kind of spark their own fires and realize that there's something really here. So I think that there's really an opportunity there. My goal right now is to try to do more research and pursue that. COVID kind of put the brakes on that for a little while. And again, as I mentioned, that was kind of a blessing in disguise to be able to help me kind of dive internally and work on this site and create something of value that I can use later on. But that's where I'm looking at right now for vision for the future.
Great. I'm going to see if I can squeeze in 2 more questions.
Sure.
Demetrius wants to know, I see on your LinkedIn page that you've worked in sales. Have you been able to leverage your network or the University of Oregon to succeed in those roles? And if so, how have you done so while remaining genuine?
Well, I think so. The hard part about that is that when I was working in sales jobs, I was living down in Los Angeles, and I was a little bit more disconnected from my University of Oregon colleagues and friends and other alumni at that point, if we were just talking about directly. So in those sales roles, unfortunately, I just kind of had to, as anyone knows in sales, you just kind of have to grind from the beginning and just kind of start building a network and just growing from there. The University of Oregon has been amazing in terms of networking for everything I've done through my sports and outdoor endeavors, whether that's professionally or just personally, or even just people that that I link up with on social media. So I think it always just kind of depends on. I hate to give you a no there, but I think it always just kind of depends on the context and what your specific network is specialized for. And I think in this one, of course, like an Oregon network is going to be good for doing something in the outdoors. So I think that's probably the best way to answer that one. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out to me afterwards too if you want to dive deeper on that one.
Absolutely. Let's wrap it up with a fun question.
Sure.
What's your favorite place to adventure in the state of Oregon?
Oh, that's easy. I mean, I just get up into the mountains, and Mount Hood is amazing, and backpacking through the Mount Jefferson wilderness is amazing. Anything that you can do down in Bend. I'm always really happy when you can combine like outdoor sports together. So Bend has a ton of that. You can go backpacking and like link it up with like some mountain biking. You can find some areas to rock climb out there. And then as a rock climber, I would say like Smith Rock is amazing. But if you're in Oregon and you're looking for just a good recommendation, I would say if you're looking to get a little bit edgy or do something that kind of pushes your envelope, go backpacking out in the Mount Hood or Jefferson wilderness. I know we're facing the unfortunately the wildfires that we had this last year. So you'll have to, do some research and figure out what's good there. But backpacking in the alpine wilderness, you will just simply feel like you are in a different universe. It is another world up there. Washington has some amazing places up there too. I don't want to leave that out. But anyway, yeah, I would say that.
There's certainly never a shortage of places to go visit and have an adventure in around
Absolutely.
here.
I also want to just quickly shout out to James. James has been a resource and a friend to me since I was there. James worked in the student career center for undergrads when I was there. And I've stayed in contact with him. I've seen him at a bunch of networking events, and it's great to see familiar faces again. What's up, James?
Yeah, that would be James Chang, the director of the Duck Career Network. Yeah, I'm glad that he's on here joining us today. Hi, James. All right. Oh, those were some great questions that came in. I'm so glad that we had enough time to get through them.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, just to kind of wrap it up. I mean, gosh, thank you so much, Austin. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your business advice with us today. I know that folks are going to leave here feeling inspired and motivated, especially now when we're in a time where we really all need that. And just to reiterate for what Austin discussed, it's more important than ever to maintain that human connection in a time that we're all feeling a bit isolated. And if you're looking for ways to get connected with fellow Ducks, please do consider checking out Austin's Facebook group that we linked in the chat box. And I have also put a link for the UO Alumni Association in the chat box. If you visit the webpage for us, you can discover ways that you can get involved with the alumni community, some benefits of becoming a member, and you can also check out the lineup of upcoming events on our calendar. We've got a lot of really exciting things in the works for our alumni. And with that said, I hope that everybody has a great rest of their week. Thank you again, Austin.
Yes, thank you both. Go Ducks, and everybody out here, feel free, reach out to me. The more the better. I love it.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks again.